got my coffee, got my blanket. It's going to be a good reading roundup, my friends. Hey everyone, I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem, and this is this week's reading roundup. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. I'm a composer, now also a booktuber. You can find my music in the Wheel of Time, His Dark Materials, even the official companion album for Brent Week's Lightbringer series, lots of book adaptations, and I'm an avid reader. I love reading, I love discussing with you all, and it's one of my favorite things to get to do in this world. So thank you for being here. I'm going to jump right into the books, my friends, because I have a lot to say. So if you like this kind of video, free ways you can support the channel: like, subscribe, watch till the end, and leave a comment if you so choose. Let's get into the books. The first book I got a chance to read, and by read I mean I started it and then I finished it, is this fantastic book, Fevre Dream by George R.R. Martin. Reason why this is a little bit more of a dilapidated copy is I decided to get it from the library in an effort to tamp down my book buying. Because, frankly speaking, if you look, this room looks a little bit cleaner. But if you look in the living room where the bulk of our collection is, starting to feel like an episode of Hoarders. So, you know, in an effort to do justice to our place and not feel like I'm just hiding books everywhere like an addict, decided to get this one from the library. I hadn't read any other George R.R. Martin except for Song of Ice and Fire, the 5 books. Maybe the only 5 books we're ever going to get, but that's a different topic for a different video. So what were my thoughts on the first non-fantasy George R.R. Martin book? Now, what is this about, first of all? It's about a guy named Abner Marsh, who is a steamboat aficionado, and he gets the chance of a lifetime when Joshua York offers him money to build the steamboat of his dreams and use it to sail passage down the river and make a boatload of money in the process. Only problem is, some weird people start coming on board, people that only come out at night, and maybe they like to feed. This is a vampire novel, historical fiction set in the 1850s thereabouts, just pre-Civil War era, and you really get a sense of the time. You get a sense also of what the steamboat era was like. You know, you learn a lot about steamboats, which, you know, frankly, I like books that kind of teach you a lot about the historical context of the time. I know for some, you know, I was looking at some of the reviews afterwards, and some people were kind of not as keen on that. But for me personally, I was like, oh, this is cool. I would never learn about steamboats any other way, right? So that was really neat. I felt like the classic George R.R. Martin characterizations are in this. There's even references that you start to kind of see in his writing style that allude to what it would become in the 90s once, because this came out in 1982, in the 90s when he decided to write Game of Thrones, and the rest is history, right? But, I mean, even down to the descriptions of the food. You notice how in Game of Thrones, like, the food descriptions always kind of make you hungry. I don't know, the way George R.R. Martin describes stuff, it's all very present in here. But one thing that really struck me about this book is the twists and turns that it takes. I thought it was going to be one kind of novel where it's like more of a mystery. Are these people vampires? Are they not? But it becomes so much more than that. And, you know, I've heard that a lot of people say the first little bit of the book, you know, the beginning of the book feels a bit more like Anne Rice, Interview with the Vampire, that kind of vibe. But then it takes a hard left turn, goes in its own direction. So, you know, this is only 330 pages, but somehow it felt like I was reading a 1,000-page book, but not because it felt like it was dragging. It felt like I was reading an epic. Does that make sense? He packs so much into this book that you just really fall in love with the characters. You kind of dive in deep. So I was just riveted from start to finish. And in fact, I was reading this with Nathan Towns, another friend of the channel who's on the Discord and fellow composer, actually. And, you know, I started a week after him, I think, and I just couldn't put it down. So I ended up finishing it in like 2 days. Love this book. This is a 5-star book for me. I will say there are a couple things that I had a little bit gripes of. Is like, there was a part maybe about 3/4 into the book where it's like, that could have been a good denouement there. And then it kind of dragged a little bit further. further than I expected it to go. And the ending was still good, but I felt like it was a little long in the tooth at times because of that. But other than that, honestly, I mean, as far as my enjoyment, even gripes aside, I consider this a 5-star book, and it's actually made me convinced that I'm going to check out more of George R.R. Martin's non-fantasy work because I feel like, hey, there's another whole catalog to explore of the guy, and he's going to become one of those automatic authors for me, as he has for so many of you. So, great book. If you have not read Fevre Dream, I am leaving the link in the description, a handy link you can click on and check it out if you'd like to. The next book I want to talk about is, if I could find where I put it. Here we go. This book I'd been wanting to read for years, ever since I saw the Mike Flanagan adaptation come out, and I decided I'm going to read it first, then I'm going to watch the adaptation, and that's from my favorite author of all time, that's Stephen King, and that is Dr. Sleep. What is this book about? It's the sequel to The Shining, so I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to spoil Shining for you, but Danny Torrance is a kid who was in The Shining, and he's kind of grappling with the events that happened to him in that first book, and he is an alcoholic, so it goes through a lot of the addiction process, probably very much paralleling what Stephen King went through, because he always writes himself in some ways in his books, you know. So it's a lot of writer characters, a lot of people who are dealing with addiction, but the way addiction is treated in this book is actually really beautiful. The long and winding road to recovery. You can kind of feel it through that person's eyes and how it must feel like to be going through that. I thought that the characterization is fantastic so far. I'm only about 140 pages out of a 500-page book, so I still got a ways to go. But automatically from the first chapter, it really grabs you, and it kind of ties back to the first book in a way that doesn't feel like fan service, not just self-serving, but actually carries the story forward. There is some allusion to a cult thing going on the side. I don't know where these storylines are going to really converge, but I can see it happening. Stephen King is a master of that. Great characters, and then shifting POVs, and you kind of don't know where do these people meet? Like, how does the collision course happen? You just kind of see the slow build. So I'm very excited to continue on the journey of this. But the upshot of reading these wonderful spooky season novels is the other book that was on my list here, Circle of Days, which is the official channel read-along. I had wanted to read about 150 pages of this. I'm about 400 pages in a 700-page book. We were doing this as an official channel read-along. I believe other people are behind me, so I don't feel as bad. This is a chonker of a book, but also life gets in the way sometimes. And I wanted to read some this week. I didn't get a chance to, so this is going to be priority for next week. So let's talk a little bit about what I'm going to read next week on the channel. So Circle of Days is going to be first priority. Second priority is going to be Dr. Sleep, of course. Third priority is going to be starting a new novel. A novel that is actually the shortest one on this list. And it is one that Francois de Klerk, who is a friend of the channel, active on the Discord, wonderful guy, and an avid reader as well. And he had chosen this book, The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. Now, this is a classic. I've heard it's amazing. It's one of the greats, probably for good reason. Only 182 pages, so definitely a quick read. I'm going to read the back here, so in case you have not read it or don't know anything about it, you could check it out maybe for yourself, see what you think, or join us, 4 seekers have arrived on the rambling old pile known as Hill House. Dr. Montague, an occult scholar, looking for solid evidence of psychic phenomena. Theodora, his lovely and light-hearted assistant Luke, the adventurous future inheritor of the estate, and Eleanor, a friendless, fragile young woman with a dark past, as they begin to cope with chilling, even horrifying occurrences beyond their control or understanding. They cannot possibly know what lies ahead, for Hill House is gathering its powers, and soon it will choose one of them to make its own. This feels like Shining vibes to me, honestly. I don't remember when this book came out. Let's see if I can find it real quick without taking way too long on here. Oh, 1959. So yeah, prelude to The Shining. I'm sure this was an inspiration for Stephen King. I mean, Stephen King took his inspiration from older novels like this. So I'd be curious to see if there's some seeds planted that would bear fruit in books like The Shining. But yeah, people always rave about this, and I've never read any Shirley Jackson, so this is going to be a prime opportunity to read this. I'm very excited about that. So this is going to be the other one I'm going to be reading, and the other one I'm going to be starting is a book I'm buddy reading with Cliff from Cliff's Dark Gems, a wonderful channel, wonderful guy. He specializes in horror and all things dark books related. And we are reading Book 6 of the Matthew Corbett series by Robert McCammon. Now, Robert McCammon is one of my fast-growing favorite authors, rivaling Stephen King, both in terms of prolificness and also his character work. So if you like Stephen King, you probably will like Robert McCammon. They are definitely parallel authors in a lot of ways. And Matthew Corbett is a private investigator, kind of a magistrate's clerk in the year 1699, and then on he goes to becoming one of the first private investigators in America. And book 5 ended in a way that kind of takes the series in a completely different direction. I'm very curious to see what Freedom of the Mask book 6 is going to have in store for us. The books are getting shorter too, so I think it's only 300 something pages. So it's going to be nice to read that with a dear friend of mine on this here Booktube space. So I'm very much looking forward to that. What do you all got on deck, by the way? Let me know in the comments, because I always love to hear like what you got reading. If you're joining any of these, if you're on that Ken Follett Circle of Days read along, like just let me know about it. Then let's talk a little bit about this week on the channel. So actually some cool things happened this week, which I want to talk about. First thing is we're at 1,396 subs now. So for some reason you're watching this, haven't subscribed, and you feel compelled to help us get to 1,400, I'd so appreciate it. I did 2 videos and 1 live stream. So the first video is my reading roundup, as I always do. The second video is 5 horror novels I would most want to see adapted. I wanted to do a spooky season read kind of video, and I thought that kind of could be something I could speak to, because I work a lot in the adaptation space and could talk about why those particular novels would be ripe for adaptation. Some are very well known, some are slightly less known, but always like to throw a wild card submission in there for you in case. But yeah, check out that video if you haven't. I really had a good time putting that together, and I think there's a lot of fun gems there to discover. And maybe, hey, Hollywood is watching and one of these will get adapted or something. I wish I could bring it up at a next staff meeting or something, but at least I can make these videos, right? So, and then I did a live stream, and this live stream was fantastic, my friends. This book has fast stolen my heart this year. Jenny Wirtz, amazing fantasy author of the Wars of Light and Shadow and so many other series. We've become friends over the last year or so. And she, as I've been making my way through Wars of Light and Shadow, she said, hey, you should check out, because Jake and I from Nerd Level Rising were talking about like, oh, what's this Pillars of the Earth book by Ken Follett, blah, blah, blah. Like, hey, maybe we should check that out. And Jenny Wirtz was like, hey, there's another book that kind of has a similar story, goes off in a completely different direction, by the way. But a kid who has artistic sensibility who builds a cathedral in the year 1200, right? Doesn't sound that interesting on its outset, but man, the characters are supposed to be insane. It's from an artist POV, and the characters have a subtlety that if you like Jenny Wirtz kind of writing, you will really appreciate. And that is the Heaven Tree trilogy by Edith Pargeter. Well, we fast read these 3 books over a couple months, and we got a chance to discuss it. Spoiler free for the first part, and then spoilers, which you could check out as well up here. Man, to say this is in contention for Book of the Year for me is no understatement. And it is really criminal that nobody knows about this book. I don't even understand how that's possible. People always say like art, oh, cream rises to the top, right? It's not always the case, and this is proof here that things can sometimes get lost in the pages of history, right? And I always want to make it a mission. For me, it's a mission statement for this channel that I don't want to just read only books that everybody's used to seeing on Booktube. I want to also try stuff that's out of my comfort zone, because frankly, it's going to make me a better person to expand my worldview. And if I could recommend a book that would maybe bring you out of your comfort zone and hopefully enhance your reading experience as a result, I always want to do that. So this is one such book, and Jenny and Jake and I got a chance to chat about it, and it was really fun. We had a blast chatting for about an hour or so, And yeah, check out the video. I know this is going to be an evergreen video on the channel. As more people become wise to what a masterpiece this book is, more people are going to check that out. But if you want to check out even the first part before you jump off due to spoilers, please check that out. And I think you would really enjoy. It will whet your appetite for why this book is so great. So let's talk a little bit about the channel schedule. So channel schedule, got a couple of ideas here. Reading Roundup is on Tuesday as always. On Thursday, I'm going to release a November TBR video. I always like releasing these a little bit early because I know on the Discord especially people say, hey, I want to jump on that. Can I jump on that with you? And it's a chance to get some buddy reads going in an informal capacity, or read-alongs, again, informal capacity, but more just like, hey, spontaneously, you want to check this out? So that's kind of why I released that early, and I got some good ones this month, so definitely keep an eye out for that. On Saturday, I'm going to do a funny one because I never do this kind of thing on my channel, and I think it would be fun to just kind of throw one in the mix. And I thought I would do my most disappointing reads since starting this channel. I will do an addendum video of my favorite reads since starting this channel, because I've had this channel for about a year and a half, and we all want to read great books. But sometimes you read stuff that just doesn't quite resonate with you. And this is my personal list. I'm not going to denigrate books and say, oh, these are bad authors, this is bad writing, nothing like that. I'm going to talk about from my own personal experience why they didn't resonate with me. And I will always say, as I always do, that your experience may differ. So only way to find out is to check it out for yourself. See if you agree or disagree. And if you disagree, please let me know in the comments, because I don't mind contrarian points of view. For me, I don't believe in echo chambers. I like chatting and learning from each other. So that's kind of the deal with that. As far as the music front is considered, well, it's been gangbusters of a week again. Grammy voting ended, so I was like going really hard on that. And I was so exhausted, you guys, from that. But I kind of huddled in, got my coffee ready, and ended up working on a theme for a game that's based on an IP I can't talk about, but it's like a prototype. So I was working on that, which is really nice. And this coming week, I'm going to do a spotting session for the first episode of the docuseries, a nature docuseries I'm very excited about, because that means I can get to writing. Future plan for this channel, as it's related to the following week, I'm going to be actually in Utah all week for Film Quest, because a film I've co-produced and also scored, The Conduit, is going to play there, and it's up for some awards as well. So we're going to spend the week as a team pounding the pavement, getting people to know about the film, and also just network, because I've heard it's a great place to meet filmmakers and maybe, get some cool work out of it. So we shall see. I'm going to bring my rig with me because I might have to continue work on the projects on the side as well. But I will be filming my videos again on the weekend before, so that you could have a regular schedule, because I really believe in consistency on this channel as much as possible, and I want to make sure I add value to you always. So what was your week like, you guys? Let me know in the comments. I would love to know what you got going on. I also made a spooky season playlist of all my spooky related videos in case you want to check them out in the weeks leading up to Halloween, because I know this is the time of the season. So check that out right here. Thank you for being here on this journey of reading and socializing. I'm Nick Hill with Shelf-Esteem. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other. And I will see you always, as always, on the next video. Take care.